That little Peasley word count is a problem, isn't it? Well, your girl Right with Carla is going to help you beef up that word count.
Do not attempt to adjust your dial. I'm transmitting live with the hardcore style. Fresh new kicks.
Welcome to Sip and Tip. So I have officially coined my videos Sip and Tip because we're sipping and I'm giving you a writing tip. Wine and writing videos was just too boring and blah, blah, blah. I'm not boring and blah, blah, blah. So our featured wine this week is going to be Stella Rosa Platinum. I got the platinum. Well, one, because black people like anything platinum. And two, they had this little door tag. Keep calm and enjoy wine. So, of course, as I'm scavenging through Publix for quarantine, buying food for my kids for this horrible, crazy lockdown, I saw the red door tag and it just jumped out at me. Of course, I want to stay calm, and of course, I want to drink wine. So I'm drinking it out of my custom, hold on, let's get the swirl. Hold on, there we go. Custom stemless wine glass by Communicate Designs. I was about to say no surprise here, but you can really taste green apple, vanilla. There's some kind of berry in here. Flower. Hold on. Elderflower. It's good, and on the semi-sweet side, I mean on the scale of 1 to 10, it falls between the 5 and 7 range. So if you're looking for a wine that is vino, of course, but just a little bit sweeter than your traditional Riesling or Pinot Grigio, then a Moscato d'Asti is a great choice for you. This is also a good wine that you can drink, and it's not heavy, so you won't get sleepy or drunk. You can sip on the wine and write and still be productive, which is the name of the game, right? So let's dive on into beefing up that word count. There are two types of writers, your overwriters and your underwriters. Overwriters are the ones who take forever to finish a book because they're writing so much detail, so many plots and subplots and little stories and conversations. They're just writing. Or if they're motivating, they're just laying it on thick. But for the editing process, it's easier because they can slice and dice what they have to get themselves down to a palatable read. Then you have your underwriters. Underwriters do the complete opposite. They aren't writing enough. They finish their book quickly and they're like, oh my gosh, they say book writing is so hard. It didn't take me any time. Man, this was so easy. Look at that word count. Oh my gosh. I only have 8,000 words. What am I going to do? Well, never fear. Your girl, Right with Carla, is here because you don't have the benefit of slicing and dicing your work. You have to add content, which can be more challenging, which is why I've compiled these steps for you. The first thing you want to do is ask yourself, do I need to add more content? So on the nonfiction side, you may think that you need 30 or 40,000 words, but you've only written 15. If the message is still getting across and your target audience is not interested in a 40,000 word read, then leave it where it is. You can still have a nice, impactful read that is engaging with a lower word count, especially depending on your genre and your audience. If you are doing you're trying to get to a novel and you only have 25,000 words, it's a real stretch to get from 25 to 65. So instead of trying to get to a full-length novel, maybe you can focus on short stories or novellas. Compile them all together, sell them as a collection. So you can write multiple stories, keep those creative juices flowing. Don't stifle your creative madness and still sell books and still make money. So after you ask yourself, do I need to write more? Does this need to be longer? And the answer is yes. Then you get into these tips. 1, no filler content. I'm going to say that again. No filler content. Filler content is just random babbling, adding to your word count, adding to your page count, but not adding to your impact, not adding to your engagement or the meaning of your story. So if you're doing a nonfiction book, i.e. motivation, self-help cookbook, and you're writing about omelets, your first chapter is veggie omelets, spinach, mushrooms, onions, green peppers, right? You get to the end of it, you only have 1,500 words, and you're like, oh my gosh, I need more words, Carla. Well, think of adding a personal story. You see, even though it's not a novel, you still are telling a story. This is where the art of storytelling comes into play. You have to transform your reader's experience. So talk to them about a personal story where your grandmother used to take you in the garden for summers. You can talk about how much it meant to her to pass on the tradition of gardening, and how now gardening is a happy and safe place for you. It's also healthy because you get these fresh vegetables to throw into your omelet. So boom, you've added a personal story, you've added to your word count, and you've given the reader something that they can cling to, something emotional. The art of storytelling. Show, don't tell. I've said this over and over and over, and I'm going to keep saying it over and over until you guys get it. Showing, not telling, is such a crucial part of the story writing process. Don't tell your readers, Carla walked down the sidewalk. Show Carla taking a leisurely stroll down the sidewalk with the sun's rays glistening on her skin. Show her appreciating the wind blowing through the trees, rustling a song that sings only to her heart. Show that. Don't say Carla walked down the sidewalk. Do you see how it feels to hear read Carla walking down the sidewalk versus Carla taking a leisurely stroll with the sunlight glistening on her skin? Give the people something they can dive into, because remember, they can't read your mind. They're reading your words. So if you're showing them, then you're helping to paint a picture for them, something that they can cling to, something that resonates with them, something that is meaningful, and it transforms your words instead of just black and white into multiple shades of gray and watercolors. You get where I'm going with this? Okay, great. 4, set the scene. Now, you don't have to set every single scene in complete detail. I don't need to know every single thing that's going on, the color of the paint on the walls, unless it has something to do with the story. But this is where you can take a critical eye, read through, and see if, as a reader, you can place yourself in the scene. If you can't, then we need to beef it up a little bit. So, for instance, if a scene takes place in an hospital emergency room, you can say they sat in the waiting room. They were waiting to hear news of their loved ones. What happened in the accident? They sat there. Or you could say, Carla sat in the hospital waiting room. Hospital waiting room. She'd been to the emergency room many times before in her youth, but this one was a little bit different. This time she was there because her husband had been into such a horrific car accident. She looked around and saw muted tones of pinks, yellows, and blues that were probably once vibrant, but now they were as dull as the love life that she and her husband had recently shared. So I'm describing the room, I'm bringing in past history, and I'm talking about what is also happening in the present, okay? So describe what's going on. We don't need to know that there are 3 candles on the nurse's desk unless those 3 candles are white and they represent the 3 children that they have. You know, you pull the imagery, but describe the scene. Use a critical eye to tell us what's going on. There is nothing worse than reading a book and you just have characters floating through the space and we don't know what they look like, what they smell like, what they feel like, what they're doing, what their rooms look like or smell like, or like there's just no kind of engagement. I always send those manuscripts back to my clients and I say, give me more, describe this, and I'll ask questions What does it look like? Why did you feel this way? Or why did she feel this way? Why did she do this? What is the reason behind her jumping off the cliff? Why did she get a red car? Little things like that. What color is the car? Where is the car? What kind of house does she have? Paint the picture, set the scene. Let us know where and how things are happening. Okay, enough of that. 5, do you have enough supporting topics? So on the nonfiction side, you may have in your outline 10 chapters, and I'm saying 3 to 5 subtopics per chapter. But you may only have one subtopic for a chapter. You don't have enough to support that main idea. So come up with a few more main ideas to support your main topic. This is where you're adding words, but not adding filler and fluff. You're adding, you're enhancing, you're adding genuine words that will help to transform the writing. You're adding things that they can learn, things that they have experienced or will experience, not just fluff. You're also strengthening the overarching topic, which is whatever your whole book is about. You're strengthening that by strengthening your main point, okay? 6, enhance communication. You can make communication better by realizing dialogue is more than just he said, she said. Dialogue is thoughts. Dialogue is feelings. Dialogue is scenery. Dialogue is body movement, facial structure, facial expressions. Dialogue is all these things. So instead of just saying, you look nice, Knight said. Thank you, London said. You're welcome, Knight said. You can say, ooh, girl, you look good today, Sergeant Knight said. Why, thank you, London laughed. Or, damn. Why, thank you, London cackled as she put her hand shyly over her face. She looked at him and realized that he was staring her down. Sergeant Knight was looking at her like she was the very dessert on his plate. Well, you have a good night, ma'am, Knight added. I sure will. I'll be thinking of you, London said, and kicked her heel up as she walked away. So you've added emotion, you've added a little bit of reflection, and you've given the reader something to get into. It's juicy, it's warm, it's inviting. It's not just he said, she said. So if you use these tips, I guarantee you will beef up your word count. If you need someone to look over that manuscript, holla at your girl. You can email me, Carla@writewithcarla.com. I will read over your manuscript and give you helpful hints on how you can structurally make it better. Checking for overarching themes, character dialogue, scene setting, making sure your subtopics support your main topic, support your overarching theme, all of that stuff. I am here for you, writer boo. Happy writing.